Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Commander video. As always, if you have not, please do subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it. Gonna change things up a bit. It's been a long time since I've talked about the ban list, talking about cards being banned in general. And while nothing has happened, this isn't an announcement of something like Lord Xander being banned. I'm actually getting a lot of those comments. I'm getting people who are genuinely terrified of having to deal with Lord Xander in Commander. I've already let it be known that I love this Commander. I love the mechanics. I love the old school feel of paying a lot of mana for a 3-color commander. I think the abilities are powerful, the triggers are good, and it's all balanced because you have a 7-mana commander that really doesn't have any kind of evasion. It's just a 6/6 with these good triggers. But you will always get the people who freak out whenever you see something like mill half a library, discard half the cards in their hand, or sacrifice half the non-land permanents, and what a difference 5 years makes. Some of the earliest videos I made on my channel were actually videos discussing the banned list, cards I felt should be banned, cards I felt should be unbanned, and I remember most people coming out and saying, I don't think any card should be banned. I think the fewer cards that are banned, the most enjoyment you're going to find in this format where you get cards all the way back to alpha and present. This is an eternal format. The reasoning is you should be able to play the most powerful cards that ever existed. This is the format where, yeah, it's singleton, you are limited in that aspect. Not a ton of consistency compared to 60 card, but you're allowed to go all out. So when I made my earlier videos complaining about certain cards, that's the pushback that I remember receiving. What's weird is that people will go and they'll look at a commander like this, which is way tame compared to anything else like Leovold. And I believe I even got a comment comparing this to Leovold, that it was going to be the same problem, not realizing that Leovold is about 4 mana cheaper, and also with an ability that affects all of your opponents, not just one. So I think within the context of understanding why certain things deserve to be banned, I just don't think that Lord Xander falls into that category. So this is the In Defense of Lord Xander video. If we're going to play the game of comparing him to Leovold, let me tell you exactly why Leovold deserved to be banned. Even though I'm not typically in favor of banning too many cards anymore, all you had to do with Leovold to make the game an absolute nightmare was play something like a Windfall, and your opponents were restricted to maybe 1 card in hand at max. Most likely you play multiple wheels and your opponents don't have anything in their hand. There were certain things you could do to make it so that your opponents would end up with no cards in hand regardless if they played something like an Envelope or Garden. Way different than Lord Xander's ETB. If you're worried about that, don't be, because it only targets one opponent and they have to discard half the cards in their hand rounded down. This will never make it so you have an empty hand, because half of 1 rounded down is 0. So the player who does play this is likely going to go after someone who has way more cards in their hand. If they have 7, they have to discard 3. That's still pretty tame. And I'm on record as saying that the second trigger is by far the most powerful. Whenever he attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded down. That's not very fun, but it does take time if you want to mill out all of your opponents. Keep in mind, you not only have to get Xander out there, you have to keep Xander out there long enough to attack with Xander, which likely means that Xander's going to be a huge magnet for removal. All you really had to do with Leovold was throw him out there and then play a wheel spell, and you probably just win the game. If you have something like Bruvak the Grandiloquent, that could very well end someone's game, but it is a little bit more definitive. It's not just we're going to make the game miserable for everyone until you all concede. That was why Leovold got banned. People don't remember playing against Leovold, but it wasn't that it just won right then and there. It was OP, it was broken, it was insufferable, because a lot of the time it couldn't just win after wheeling. It had to play the control game while everyone else sat at the table with 0 cards in their hand. That's not what Lord Xander's going to be. The death trigger is also incredibly tame. It's just as tame as the first trigger, I believe. You want to know how you get around this? Exiling it. There you go. You don't have to worry about that final trigger. But in all seriousness, that's really what makes a 7-mana commander worth it. You have a huge upside here if you are the person building around Lord Xander. You want something like this. Now, there are some fun interactions with all of these triggers. There are ways that you can abuse all of them, but this is not ban-worthy in the slightest. I don't think it's going to take over the format. Commanders that take over the format are typically cheaper in mana cost, easily replayable, and offer some kind of consistency in card draw. Lord Xander, I just don't think checks enough boxes to be OP, to be busted. I think what people get caught up in is the idea of a commander that has a punishing ability needing to be banned. This is 2 turns to maybe mill out an opponent. It is still rounded down, so there is some flexibility there, but nothing here really prevents an opponent from interacting with it. To me, that's what made Leovold really difficult to deal with, is because you likely had no ways of dealing with it to begin with. Lord Xander, okay, might take away half of your hand, just keep the removal spells in your hand. We're seeing a lot of people just comfortable saying this needs to be banned, this is too busted, this is going to get the ban hammer next. I guess it's because it's the cheap thing to do. It's so easy. It's like breathing to people. Oh, I have nothing constructive to say. I guess I'll just say it deserves to be banned because I personally don't like it. You have to have an actual justification for why this would make the experience in multiplayer that much worse. If you can't make that justification, it's a 7-mana commander. I think most people in a game are probably prepared to deal with it by the time that player gets it out. And if you do work to get to that 7 mana in Grixis, you probably deserve to get it out at least once or twice in a game anyway. It's like every commander has its own payoff. Some are card draw payoffs, some are really powerful attack trigger payoffs. Lord Xander just gives you pretty good payoffs for the mana that you put into him. So I hope this video helps you out if you're someone who you're curious about all the talk with the ban list, people really rushing to ban something as soon as they see it spoiled. Like, we haven't even really got a chance to play with it yet. We haven't really got a good chance to see what else is in this set to really balance it out. So that's the video, just addressing a lot of negativity that I'm seeing, as if people didn't already know this is common in these colors. Blue, black, and red. I mean, we've had Nekusar for many years, and trust me, I remember hearing a lot of people complaining about that. I don't know if I ever remember people saying he should have been banned. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I will see you all next time.